Today, February 9, 2019, is the 50th anniversary of the first flight of the Boeing 747.
I think that it's just always been the plane when everybody sees it.
I think she's called the Queen of the Skies because she's big and powerful, and she is going to reign forever.
There's a lot of history with this airplane. It was a launch pad. It was a launch pad for commercial airlines. My dad was one of the original Credibles on the 47 and was here and helped build the very first one.
Well, it's sort of hard to explain what an incredible is, because what we did, it was incredible. The building was still being built. It was an incredible project and had to be accomplished within a small time frame compared to even now how they design an airplane. It was huge. I think it was intimidating to a lot of folks that looked at it. You know, I mean, the miles of wiring. Everybody knows the 747. Everybody can relate to it.
Monday, September 30th, 1968, at the Boeing Company's Everett, Washington branch. "26 stewardesses, representing the 26 airlines that have ordered 158 747s, take part in the christening ceremony.
1, 2, 3.
February 9, 1969, dawned gray and cloudy.
February 9th, approaching takeoff time. The flight crew moves out to the waiting airplane. Pilot Jack WADDELL. Co-pilot Brian Weigel. Flight engineer Jess Wallach. Takeoff requires only 4,300 feet of roll. Gross takeoff weight is 467,500 pounds. Each engine producing just under 39,000 pounds of thrust.
At 11:35 a.m., the 747 was at the end of runway, ready to go. 4 engines stable, called by the flight engineer Jesse Wallach. The 747 started its roll, and the era of 747 begun.
You're checking. I'll watch it. 80 knots. Yeah, good. 90 knots. I'm off the steering. Let's go power. Let's have everything. Looks good. We are. Okay.
The crew tried flying different hydraulic system shutdown with no problem. They also performed a Dutch roll easily.
It's a very easily flyable airplane though, and it doesn't want a Dutch roll. Still in the takeoff configuration. We haven't tried to change anything yet.
Everything looks very normal on the right side, Jack, and gear doors look closed, and I'll go over and check the left.
Beautiful.
In the final approach, basic airspeed is 140 knots, landing weight 440,000 pounds.
Flying qualities during the landing approach were almost unbelievable in that the airplane sits there like a stable platform. The pilot has to keep telling himself, and I'll leave it alone, it doesn't need any help here.
Okay, Jack, natural question is, what are your impressions?
I guess this sounds complacent or something, but that thing is just ridiculously easy to fly. It's just a pilot's dream. Really a nice airplane to fly.
The 747 first flight lasted 1 hour and 15 minutes. The test flight was a success in its own right, but more importantly, the world has changed forever, and the era of global mass transit had begun.
You know what? When the 747 took off, you look. It's just an awesome experience to remember that you're a part of something that has gone so far and so fast, and so many different models, and be accepted by the public as world-class travelers.
So it's going to be a whole lot of generations that have been attached to this airplane. It's amazing. There's a lot of aircraft that have come and gone in that 50 years. So to see this plane still being wanted and desired and built today is an accomplishment in itself.
My favorite aircraft right behind me, Boeing 747. Everyone recognized the 747 immediately with its oval shape and its hum on the upper deck. I couldn't think of any other plane as unique as the 747. I have never been on a plane this big. It was love at first sight. Wow. This is my love. This is Boeing 747, where my love of aviation has started on this plane. And when I come in, the feeling was very different. I became very emotional. It's bringing my childhood memories back. This is my favorite section. If you sit in the first row, you're sitting actually in the very front end of the plane before even the cockpit, before even the pilot seat. So the 747 have an amazing curvature that expand your view if you're sitting in front at the nose. There were a couple of times I was so lucky to be invited into the cockpit to watch the takeoff and landing behind the pilot on the 747.
You see this on number 5?
$50, $40, $30, $20, $10.
There were many memorable 747 flights I have flown. For example, I was on the last 747 flight of Singapore Airlines in April 2012. There were so many touching moments when we landed in Singapore one last time.
As the aircraft taxis to the gate. Now, a love relationship that we all appreciated, a good one at that, ladies and gentlemen. For many of you passengers out here, it is through the B747 aircraft that the love for commercial aircraft had begun. For many of our Singapore Airlines staff who are indeed on board the aircraft today, this was the aircraft in which most of us grew up in. Truly, these are the final moments in which all of us will appreciate, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for flying Singapore Airlines, a member of Star Alliance. And most of all, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking the B747 aircraft. Queen of the Skies, you have certainly been a great way to fly. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving her the best. Woo! A big round of applause.
Kuwait Airways operate one all 747-400 leased from the government of Kuwait. As I have flown over 200 747 flights, the 747 always have the smoothest landing out of all the airplanes I've flown. Very end of the old Kai-Tak airport, runway 1331. There was one famous accident here one time. There was a China Airlines 5-month-old 747-400, literally brand new. It didn't make it, and it really went over the runway, overshot the runway, way into the water. For those who haven't flown a 747, there are still many chances to get on one. In the last few months, I have flown KLM, Asiana Airlines, Qantas. Here are some footage to share with you. How long are these beds? I know Dutch people are very tall.
Yes, the longest we have is 2 meters and 7 centimeters. Are you comfortable, Sam?
Oh yeah, very. This is my favorite seat. This is the economy comfort, which is like a premium economy class, which is very nice. There's 2 and 3. You actually have a wall here, which is actually nice privacy. The galley is actually behind this wall. Alright, I'm gonna walk down to have a look at the economy class. First is a very long galley on the side of the 747 between door 1 and 2. Purser workstation. The 747 Combi. So this is the rear cargo section. We also have a look at the 747 crew rest, which is located actually just at the rear of the aircraft. You have to climb up the stairs.
I will show you the upper deck of the 747.
Let's go.
Come on board.
Oh, this is a galley behind you,
yes.
Right? After the stairs.
Yeah.
You like this galley, don't you?
Yeah. People who are not that tall, they like this galley very much.
I see. What a different part of the world. On the same plane, the upper deck is so exclusive and cozy. And the 747-400 Combi's cockpit. Well, behind the cockpit straight away, there's also a rest area for crew rest for the cockpit crew. "25 years ago, in 1994, I flew my first Asiana 747. Today there's no other passenger. It feels like my own 747 private jet. The best seats on the upper deck, which is the exit row, where you have extra leg room here, like this much of room. And the advantage of the 747 upper deck, if you sit next to the window, there's a side bin here, this bin here, and you can store stuff here. So there's an extra storage. So I got really lucky here. I've got seats 1K on the 747, which is my favorite seat at the nose. I am so glad the 747 legacy continued with the latest 747-8 intercontinental model. 3 airlines operate the latest 747 model: Lufthansa, Korean Air, and Air China here. Apart from flying 747 as a passenger, I am also a plane spotter. My favorite plane to photograph is the Boeing 747. Look at it, this is so fantastic. There's so many 747s still in Hong Kong. A very happy day because I'm seeing my favorite 747, one after another, right behind. You can also find 747 in several museums in the world.
This is the world's very first 747-400 aircraft ever built. Originally flew April 29th of 1988, so it's been around for 30 years now. For some reason, a lot of people like to see what the lavatories look like. So,
oh yeah.
Galley here. This airplane had 7 galleys and 13 lavatories. And in the front of the cabin, the A zone, we have 14 lie-flat seats here in the front of the airplane. Here we are in the back of the 747. It really does show the immensity of this aircraft and how much space is actually back here once all of this.
So this is what the 747 floor looks like. Correct. Underneath it.
Underneath, we are actually standing just over the center fuel tank, and the ductwork that you see here is part of basically the HVAC system that feeds the heating and the cooling to the passengers at their seats. You can also see pulleys and wires, cargo hold. And what we're looking at is the bulk bin, where all of the last minute bags are placed, as well as any live animals. Pressure dome, not something you really want to see when you're flying, but this is what it looks like.
This is a quote by the 747 father, Joe Suffolk. I can't look at the 747 without seeing it as a living piece of technological sculpture, a winged trophy dedicated to the men and women who put their heart and soul into conceiving and building it.
Welcome to the upper deck.
Wow. This is 73 Alpha, the first row behind a bulkhead wall and on the upper deck of the 747. It is very private. It has the element of a private jet. Now, perhaps out of all the 747, I think I can relate it the most is the United Airlines 747, because I have flown so many times on United, over 70 times. I was on the last United International 747 flight out of Incheon to San Francisco in October 2017.
It's an amazing feat of engineering. It's a remarkable airplane. It's got multiple redundancy for every system. Very safe, very noble, very forgiving airplane, easy to fly.
Walking up to my last ever United 747 flight. I'm actually the first passenger they allowed me to board just a little ahead of everybody. Hello!
Hi, welcome aboard!
Thank you!
Glad to have you here for our final 747 trip.
Oh, it's an honor.
It is an
unbelievable.
Honor. I grew up on the 747 and with the United family. My favorite aircraft. I'm here to hail to the Queen for their final flight.
Cheers to the Queen.
United 892 Heavy, congratulations on being the last pilot to fly the United 747s into San Francisco. Godspeed to you, found at San Francisco Tower 120.5 for today.
120.5, United 892 Heavy, thank you very much, man. It's been an honor.
United 892 Heavy, San Francisco Tower, wind calm, ready to left, clear to land. United 892 Heavy, San Francisco, last 747 inbound to San Francisco. We decided to make it the usual. Your gate is not available, so plan to roll all the way to the end of the left turn. Okay, roll all the way to the end, and we'll plan on that.
And ladies and gentlemen, all hail the Queen, long live the Queen. Thanks for flying United today.
I'm just so enjoying 747. Hope you felt that my love for 747 in the video as well.